Thanks for having me on, Beverly. Great to be having this conversation. Well, this is now the second time this year that we're seeing strikes by truck drivers. Back in June, the same union, the Cargo Truckers Solidarity Union, went on strike for about 8 days with their 25,000 members. So, not uncommon to see large strike actions like this, but these ones are having quite the ripple effects on the economy.
Yeah, give us a sense of the impact these strikes are actually having.
Right now, the biggest impact is on the construction industry, and that's why yesterday the Minister of Industry and Transport issued the start work order. Right now, the transport of cement is down 90 to 95% from what it normally is. Um, I'd say about 59% of construction sites in the country have ceased operations and have stopped pouring ready mixed concrete. Apart from construction and cement, um, it's gas, oil refineries. They're in a better position. Gas stations have a supply that will maybe last them 8 days, but here in Seoul and in the greater metropolitan area, some high volume stations are already running out of gas and diesel. So the longer that these strikes go on, the more problems that people will see at the pumps, gas prices going up. Right now, the military is supporting the transit of gas and diesel using lorries, but that's where we're expecting it to hit harder the longer this goes on.
Yeah. How unusual is it for the government to invoke this really, this power that forces workers to go back to work?
Well, this is the first time in the law's 18-year history that a start work order has ever been invoked. The law we're talking about here is the Trucking Transport Business Act, which came into effect in 2004, I believe. And under its Article 14, the minister can issue a start work order if a strike is not being carried out on justifiable grounds or if that strike has significant impact on the national economy. And the minister this morning he was at a cement transport company in Seoul to personally deliver the order to some truck drivers along with a field inspection team.
Interesting. Do we know if the negotiations are continuing to try and solve this impasse?
There were negotiations on Monday, which didn't get anywhere. Additional negotiations were held in Sejong City today. Again, no result that was agreeable to both sides was reached. Um, I think those negotiations will continue. However, the government's position is that it will not bring about any legislative changes until the truck drivers return to work.
So, with that work order, have truck drivers gone back to work by and large, or are some still defying that order?
It appears, based on press releases from the ministry, that some are still defying it. So I believe there was about 350 drivers from about 19 transport companies that have been served the order but have not returned to work. If they do not return to work, then they can face up to 3 years in prison or 30 million won in fines. They can also lose their license to carry cargo.
So we've got some pictures as you're chatting to us, Jack, with people shaving their heads. It seems to have garnered quite an interesting, going in an interesting direction. What is the sort of public sentiment with regard to the drivers?
I think there perhaps is some sympathy for what they're demanding, which is essentially improved working conditions and the protection of the safe freight rate system, which guarantees them minimum payments for carrying a certain amount of cargo. However, I think if fuel prices go up, if there continues to be large scale disruption, then that public support may start to wane.
Yeah, understandably. Great to have you on, Jack. Thank you so much for your time.
Well, thanks very much for having me.